Hey, this is editor Nick from the future here. I just wanted to give a quick note that this was my first time doing a guest podcast on my own. So I had to make quite a bit of edits. We had a lot of technical difficulties that we worked through. I'm very thankful for my guest today for being very, very patient with me, and her son for being very patient with me, as you'll see in the episode. So please forgive the edits. Obviously, this is a work in progress. I'm a one-man show getting this podcast going. So I deeply appreciate your understanding as I made a decent amount of edits. This actually took me longer to edit than it took me to record the episode. So yeah. And in the future, I learned a lot from this episode, as we all do from, mistakes, or I wouldn't even call them mistakes, but just experiences. So thank you for your patience, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Spedspace podcast. I am your host, Nick Coletti. And as you can, if you're watching, if you're just listening, you can't see this, obviously, but if you're watching, I have a guest on the show. It's been a minute. I have Rachel McEachern with me today. Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah. Also, before we begin, Rachel, I just want to say thank you for the last hour. You've sat here with me troubleshooting this, getting this working. This is my first time having a guest on outside of the studio that I used to rent. So I appreciate that. We started off with me just being able to see you, and then eventually we got it so you could see me and I could hear you and you could hear me. So we've come a long way.
Learning together.
Yes, yes.
We got here.
Yeah, multiple computer switches. It's different microphones, but we're good. We're here. So if anybody has any problems with the audio or video, it's tough. Just deal with it, and then in the future, it should be good though. It should be good. Yeah. But thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here. What is your connection to special education, or the population, the different? Yeah, just what's your connection to special education?
What's my connection? That is a great question.
Yeah.
So my mother is a retired special ed teacher, and I ended up following her footsteps at the very last second of college. I actually was going to school for elementary ed, and I jumped in her classroom for observation hours, volunteer, and my heart just really connected with the special needs population. And afterwards, I have been working with adults, primarily with Asperger's syndrome and other intellectual disabilities, for over 15 years for independent living. And so, yes, for the past 15 years, I have been working very closely with adults from all over the country, actually, living on their own with independent living, and connecting them with all the different resources that they need to live independently. And it's been a really eye-opening position to be in, to work with somebody who's trying to now live on their own with a disability.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to get to that in a second, because that's an area where I have literally, like, I would say zero experience, minimal experience with. But let's jump back. So you originally wanted to do elementary education.
Yep.
And then, so you did observation hours in your mom's classroom. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what made you want to go into special ed?
Sorry. Hi, honey.
I'm hungry.
Of course, we just got started.
What made you switch from elementary ed to special ed? I know you went and observed the classroom. Like what?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I kind of felt that that natural connection to many of the individuals that my mother was working with. And a lot of them, were either nonverbal, had Down syndrome, but they needed so much support, or had mobility issues, and something just like pulled at my heartstrings of, I just felt like I saw them, and not everybody does. And I just wanted to get to know them more and help teach them and connect with them. And I really love that one-to-one direct teaching element, rather than a whole classroom.
Yeah.
And that was a big shift of where I realized I want one-to-one. I want to, pay more attention to those that may not be getting the equal support somewhere else in the school system or anywhere. So it just felt like a natural connection, and I just knew I'm stuck. This is where I'm going.
Yeah. And then how long did you do that for? So I know you transitioned to working with adults. How long were you in the classroom before you made that transition?
So interesting because you do your observation hours or student teaching at
Yeah.
your like ninth hour, right before you get your degree. So at that point, it's kind of hard to change
Oh,
what you're going
oh
to
my
school
goodness.
for.
So you were in okay. So you were getting your degree in elementary ed,
Yep.
with not a dual certification in special ed.
Well, actually, with psychology too.
With psychology. Okay, so
Mhm.
you were getting dual cert in elementary ed and psychology.
Yes.
Okay, so then where does the path take you from there? So
Yes.
you
And
want to
it's
make the
funny.
change.
Yes. So it's funny because also my goal was to move to Massachusetts. And so I was going to school in Mass.
Okay.
I went to Westfield State, which is the best for elementary ed. And then I would come home, do my hours with my mom. But, when you do your student teaching or observation hours or whatnot, it's really at that ninth hour right before you get your degree.
Yes.
So I completed my degree. I moved back home to Connecticut and I continued going to it was ACES in Hamden. So I
Yeah.
continued going. I developed relationships with certain teachers and classrooms, and through a connection with my mother, that's where I ended up working at another facility in New Haven, and that's where I stayed, and I went up the ladder in all different positions. It's been a pretty cool ride.
Yeah. And so then did you have to go and get another degree then, or you were okay?
So no. So based on what I was doing there, as long as I had a bachelor's degree,
Yeah.
I was able to keep doing what I was doing.
Okay.
I wasn't teaching specifically special ed classes, which was needed, but that wasn't my role of what I
Yeah.
was doing. I was running programs and teaching, but there's certain curriculum that a special education teacher has to teach, and I didn't do that. But a lot of what I was doing was overlapping with actually occupational therapy. And so I loved what I was doing there. And I still kind of missed the thought of working with kids because I was working with adults at the time. So I actually did go back to school for OT for a bit. Um, I didn't finish. It was, I think with occupational therapy, I think about it like going to school for teaching. All
Yeah.
right, do you want to be a special ed teacher? Do you want to be a history teacher? Do you want to do early ed? It's all broken down a lot. And with OT, it just wasn't. It was really, you have to learn everything,
Yeah.
which was kind of a lot for me. I wasn't really interested in like post surgery rehab.
Yeah.
I envisioned working maybe with elementary ed, but still special ed.
Yeah.
And, with my motor skills, learning how to write, um, communication. But yeah, so I did that for a bit and I got a promotion at work. So it was kind of like good timing for me to pause and refocus on building my skill level in person to figure
Yeah.
out what my next chapter would be.
It's so funny. I last week I did an episode. So one of the things I do is I'll go on Facebook groups and I'll read comments that like parents are making and special ed teachers are making and like questions they have. And this one parent was going off a rant about being certified to teach kids with special needs. And I was like, it's a very nuanced topic. Like I think as long as you're not advertising something that you're not, it's all good. Like I think anybody can work with anyone. It's just a matter of
course.
experience. Like I have my master's in special education. I loved the program I went to. I went to Fairfield University. I had some great professors. I learned a lot. But to say that was what like tipped me over the edge of like really understand special education, it's not. Like it gave me like the discipline and understanding the law and understanding like what it needs to go in an IEP, things like that. But when it came to actually working with the kids, it didn't do that much to help. So
No, you really do need that experience and
yes.
work on like the communication skills and opening your exposure to how every individual is different. So
Yeah.
you're not going to find that in a textbook.
Well, and every individual, like literally every individual, like not just the kids, but like the teachers you're working with and the parents that you're interacting with. Yeah, it's like everybody, your own style. So you work for a bit in the Connecticut school system, or no, I'm sorry, at
It was
in
a
New Haven.
nonprofit school. Yeah.
Yeah, in New Haven. And then do you get into the adult assistance that right after that, or is there an in between?
No, so after college, I was observing and volunteering at my mother's classroom while bartending at the time,
Yeah.
which actually is a great
As,
skill.
as
It
many
is.
teachers do, as no, for sure, for sure.
Listen, it
Yeah.
is. I think bartending is a phenomenal way to connect with people, learn how to read situations, body language. It
Yeah.
overlaps tremendously, actually, with teaching and being with others. It really does.
Were you bartending in New Haven?
North Haven. I was at a sports bar, actually.
Okay.
That
I
was
mean,
part
yeah, all
of a
right.
hotel.
Okay. So good for you. That's,
Yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and you meet some fun characters.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yes, but I would really say the social element and learning to work on the fly overlaps a lot with teaching.
Hey, there you go. All right.
It really does.
So if you want to be a teacher, you should go be a bartender first.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm sure it's not, like wrangling kids and wrangling the
No,
patrons there is probably not very different. So yeah.
no, but yeah. So I was there for about like a year or so while observing and volunteering on the side. And just through a family connection, that's where I landed up at the nonprofit residential school, and that is for adults. But my hours
Mm,
started off as um, per diem. So I did per diem for a couple of years, which was actually pretty interesting because I worked with different shifts, different students, different departments. So that was a great eye-opening experience for
yeah.
me. And then just to lock down some solid hours, I did overnight shifts there for a year or 1 day a week, which I don't recommend. I feel
Okay.
like you're either meant for that or not. And then as I said, I just worked up the ladder. And then from that point, um, I was applying. I wanted a steady position there. I really loved it. I wanted to do more and have that as a career. So there was another employee of mine who quit out of nowhere from a branch off of my department. And I was approached and said, "Hey, would you mind filling in as an advisor for a few weeks until we figure out what we're doing?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." So I was assigned a caseload, and one individual in particular, she has a big personality and is known for um, she's got a lot of attitude.
Fair enough.
And she has no filter and she'll scream at you and everything. And a few weeks later, I was reapproached again. And I was told, "Hey, I hear this individual really likes you and you haven't been yelled at yet, which is, it must show that you two have a really good relationship. We want to offer you the position plus all the other individuals that you're working with right now." So that's
Awesome.
kind of how I hopped into the advisor role there.
Yeah. I love that. Ever since I left working in the public schools, I have learned a lot more about business and like kind of like how you can rise up the ranks, so to speak, or make your way,
Mhm.
and that just doesn't really happen in public schools. So it's cool, like merit based. You got asked to do this job, you jumped in, you did an awesome job, and then you get rewarded for it by getting the job. And it's nice to, I don't know,
I got lucky because I did try applying a few times and uh, it I tried applying a few times, and I honestly think they liked keeping me at per diem because they knew I
yeah,
did well on the fly and working with different departments, but that wasn't helping me at all. Like, that's
yeah,
okay initially. So I actually, at a certain point, I almost left because I was like, "Listen, I need a steady income.
yeah, yeah,
I can't keep doing this." And then I was overloading myself with hours, burning myself out, worrying that what if the hours slow down?
yeah.
So I got to a point where I was actually about to leave, and it was just, one of those things where the stars aligned. Somebody else left. I got the opportunity to fill in, and
Yeah.
it all fell in place right there.
That's a good point too. There's definitely some job security with and like consistent hours with a teaching gig, which is probably why a lot of people
Mhm.
do it. But no, that's awesome. I mean, I'm luck, sure. I mean, maybe just being in the right place, at the right time, for sure. But I mean, obviously, working with this
That's what I'm saying. The
population.
stars aligned.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you were working with adults in a residential facility, correct? Is that
Yes.
okay? Two things I've never done: working with adults and working in a residential facility. Okay, what's that like? I mean, so they're there 24/7 residential facility.
Mhm. So I'm going to explain a little bit of how that
Yeah,
works.
yeah, please.
So the school is a 2 year, they have a 2 year program where individuals come in and live there on campus in apartments with roommates, staff around the clock, and really learn all those essential skills you need to be living on your own. And you have a very supportive team with like a speech language pathologist, a CBT, and everybody's kind of working there as a team to help evaluate the individual, see what their needs are, teach the skills, not just about independent living, but it's also social skills. And so it's not just teaching independent living, but it's also the social skills and how to navigate the community. And do you want a job? Do you want to go to school? All right, you want to go to school? What kind of services do you need? Let's go through the application process. It's literally everything under the sun in terms of being an adult. So after the 2 years ends and they complete the program, at that point, if at that point the individual either moves back home to wherever they're from, stays in the community nearby, and continues to receive ongoing support, or which was becoming more often, is needing one extra year.
Mm. So they could
Uh,
be up there 3 years then with you
yes,
guys.
and honestly, I think the expectations are way too high to learn everything you need within 2 years. Most
Yeah,
adults don't do that, let alone if you have a 22-year-old who where their mental capacity is at 15 and you're trying to teach them how to live on their own. It's really complex.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So initially I was working in the residential program with, individuals who were first coming on, but then I have transitioned to what the advisor position was with those who have moved into the community but needed additional help.
I have a phone call I need to hop on at 4:30.
Okay.
That happened the last minute. This morning we have I have a new client. Um,
It's okay.
yeah, well, it's very interesting. Like we don't have any data yet, and I basically was just like, we made a FERPA request for all the information,
Mhm.
and they were looking through, and like I didn't know any of this because I haven't seen the data yet, and they like didn't evaluate this kid, and they needed to back in January. So,
Oh.
so I'm just like awkwardly on the phone, and like the parent doesn't understand the implications of that, and they're like, it's the assistant director and the director of Sped, and I've already been in this district and gotten multiple kids outplaced, and I'm just sitting there quietly like, I genuinely have no idea what's going on, but it sounds like you guys got to get this done. So they're
Yeah.
like, we're gonna call you back. All right, little break there. Had to get some mac and cheese for the little
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. So jumping right back in. So you were working at, well, what's that experience like? I mean, we might be jumping around here, but genuinely,
Yeah.
what's it like working with adults? And when we say adults, let's just clarify. I'm assuming these are 22 years and older
18
individuals.
plus.
It is 18 plus. Okay. Okay.
18 plus. So I've worked with individuals as young as 18 all the way up to their 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. What's that? I mean, so you did have experience working with younger kids too, or no? You did, right? That's where you started.
Not on the spectrum, like not with disabilities of any
Okay.
sort.
Okay. So then I guess just what's that experience like working with adults?
As we said before, every person's different.
Yeah.
So, you can be doing the same job for year after year after year. And it's interesting how each person is so different and you learn something new, but then other things are totally monotonous and are exactly the same and
Yeah.
stagnant. Like, all right, Allie, we're gonna put your garbage away after, on Thursdays, and it's like year after year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's a poor example, but it is very interesting because the individuals who are coming there fresh, they're typically on the younger side, and living on your own is a new experience for anybody, but they have a lot of um, different paths and challenges to take that a typical person may not need to venture. And it's interesting just with the older clientels rather than children, just their perception of themselves of, okay, I have a disability and I'm okay
Mm,
with that and I'm proud and I know I need help in certain areas. And then, then there's other people who may say, nope, I'm totally fine. This is a mistake. I shouldn't be here. And
yeah. Yeah.
yes, and you could really tell the difference with individuals of who got a lot of support growing up and resources and then who did not. And
Oh, I mean, that's interesting.
mhm.
W- well, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit more because that's something I was thinking about was, I've worked with elementary through high school, and I've done lots of classes where it's like life skills, and I've done classes where we're working on like money and all those kind of things. Do you see that having an impact when they get to that age? Like kids that may have had that experience or not had that experience?
um, I don't know if I've noticed that they've already had those classes.
Okay.
So, and it's possible that they haven't
And
had those
and
classes
and don't
coming.
get me wrong, like I'm it's perfectly fine if it's like no, it doesn't help. Like I'm
No,
genuinely
I'm honest.
curious.
I
Yeah.
think for those who have, love to cook in the kitchen, it's because they were doing it with their family at home.
Yeah.
But then I worked with one individual who's in his 20s and didn't know how to crack an egg. And I really think it's because mom and dad are just doing everything,
Yeah.
and I understand it's, they love him, it's protective of let me take care of you, but when you're then later in life trying to kind of catch up on these things that we typically learn when we're younger, it is really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's interesting to hear. It's kind of from your experience, it's more like what they were doing at home rather than the school. Is
Yeah,
that
I would say
yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yes. But or some individuals came from private schools that were just for individuals with special needs, and some people came from, traditional high schools where they were, just part of like the resource or special ed classroom and got separate services, but still part of a traditional public school. So it's or, as I said, we have people from all over the country. So
Yeah. And
there's so many different elements of what can really shape a person into who
yeah.
they are.
Yeah. That's yeah. I'm not trying to start like a private school versus public school thing or anything, or like life
No,
skills or not.
no.
I'm just wondering if like those end up having an effect. Like the things that it sounds like it makes sense that it's more what they do with the family that matters.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, but
I
but
think
all
family makes a huge difference.
for sure, for sure. And I would agree with that 100% as well. I mean, it's um there's always exceptions to the rule, but like
Mhm.
when it comes to a kid's affect in school, their behavior, their willingness to work, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you do typically see a lot of that correlated with how much is being done at home as well. I mean, just to be
Absolutely.
perfectly honest, and blunt, uh, so it's just interesting. This,
Yeah,
yeah, it carries on past high
really
school.
does. Yep,
Yeah,
and then, what economic background they come from, how many resources they had access to prior to coming. Do you come from a family where
yeah,
everybody's hands in the pot? So it's, yeah, everybody's different and their level of need is very different. But um but I liked the fact that when I became an advisor, I already, the individuals already went through that 2-year program of learning how to like adjust from being at home to living on their own. And then it's like, all right, I'm now going to have my own apartment. I'm going to have
mm,
a roommate, and that ownership and excitement. I really enjoyed empowering young adults to find their way into being more independent.
that does sound fun. It sounds like it's all the things that are actually important. Like social boundaries in like a roommate situation, and
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know,
we would
put
have roommate meetings,
yeah,
and it's, you know, finding a roommate for anybody, I would
yeah,
say is kind of hard, but when you have special needs, there's so many different elements to it, with like sensory issues or
yeah.
triggering topics. So yeah, like roommate meetings was definitely a very big part of facilitating those relationships. But outside of just life skills, a big thing that I was very hands-on is the social component. So
Yeah.
there was a social rec program where, Friday through Sunday activities were put together and they were all kind of like scored at different levels of independence, but also hitting different targets of needs. So do you, how do you have the funds to spend on activities? Do you have your bus transportation um, pass? Have you been able to navigate around the community safely? Is this an activity you could go on your own? Do you need staff support? So it really is a variety of different elements that have created different social rec activities. But also, ultimately, the goal is that you're going to teach them to communicate with each other, create their own plans, and socialize independently, and not
Yeah.
to rely on you to have social outings,
Yeah.
because isolation can be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, for
yeah,
sure.
isolation
It's
can be
rough.
hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, historically, again, I don't have much. I don't know why I keep saying that. I don't have any experience with like let's say like 19 plus. Like I've worked with some
Okay.
like kids. Like historically, I've always heard that it's very difficult to find services, or that any services even exist after high school. Um, how many? And you may not know this answer, but just curious. I mean, maybe just speaking for Connecticut, or if you know broader. Um, how many services like this are available, or were available, I guess, when you were doing this, and maybe versus now?
So I would say there's not many. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why initially we had people coming from all over the country, because there's not many schools or resources for people to have access to. So yeah, you're going to fly your kid across to get what they need. But now it's definitely becoming more I don't want to use the word popular, but more
Common.
common.
Yeah.
Yes. So that there's so many different types of resources that you can have. Like, this is one for independent living, but then do you need vocational, support, finding a job? Do you need a job coach, a benefit specialist? There's so many different
Yeah.
levels of um, needing resources when you're an adult.
Yeah.
And it's, unfortunately, sometimes it really does come down to money. So it would be really unfortunate where sometimes we would have families that they're past the age of 22, or it was 22 or 26, and they're no longer receiving services from the school system. Now they have to be on their own, and if the
Yeah.
parents or guardians can't financially support it, then they get pulled and would sometimes go home, and that's really hard. That's the like really sad part.
They've changed the law a couple times. I think the 26 number is health insurance.
Yes, I realized
Yeah.
that after I said that
No,
out
that's
loud,
okay.
but yes,
And then I
22
think
is school.
and just I mean, I know we're both talking with Connecticut in mind here, but it's different from state to state. But I think the current law in Connecticut, at least, is they can stay in school up until the year of their 23rd birthday. I believe that's how it works. So they can finish that year. They're not like, I think they used to just be like kicked out like on their 23rd birthday or something. I think they
Mhm.
can finish the school year. So like if your birthday's in September, but you start the
Right.
school year at 22, you could have that entire school year. And then after that, you're done.
You're on your
And
own.
you're
Yeah.
on, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And
We had individuals who were district funded.
so yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I know some towns have, a program that goes through 23. But I mean, still they're going to help after 23 sometimes, depending on the
Yeah.
person. So you, so then you got out of, you worked in adult support for a while, and then you got out of that. And how we connected
Yeah.
is you are starting a Uniquely You, a magazine
Yes.
in Connecticut.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
and what that is?
I would love to. And I'm going to give a little bit more background too of like the transition.
Sure, please,
So,
please. Thank you.
yes. So, being an advisor is a very demanding job. I don't ever want to um, be discrediting to parents saying, I'm doing what you're doing because you can't replace a mom or dad. But I really was the go-to person 24 hours, 7 days a week for, individuals. And there's only so much that you can do. So if somebody needs help with filling out their benefits form and getting, food stamps, and they need help finding a job, well, you need a job coach. Let's figure out, you want social plans. Let's, create a whole system, budget it. Like you really need a village. You really do.
Yeah.
And when you go out into the community and helping them with certain elements of life, like going to get a haircut, we'll just use that as an example. It is so important to find the right connection of respect, uh, and of trust that they're going to work with you or another individual just like anybody else. But I'm going to actually change that example. Let's move to like a psychiatrist. So I've taken many individuals to psychiatry appointments, and unfortunately, I didn't always find that they were the right fits. Felt like, all right, you're here, I'm getting billed, through insurance, and it was just like a chat session when their needs are not really being met, but due to insurance, they don't really have anywhere else to go.
Mm.
And that was really sad, to be honest, because you're not getting the proper services that you need. And there's many instances where I would advocate on individuals' behalves of needing more and needing further supports and other elements. And, it became really challenging because you want the best of the best for your individuals. It's just like you would want the same for your children. And I found that I was constantly advocating for better quality of life as best as I can. And there's only so much you can do, within your role. I mean, that's kind of how it is with any job, right? There's only
Yeah.
so much you can do.
Yeah.
So, I was there for a really long time and wore many hats. I also ran some programs, and I just found that I wanted to advocate on a larger scale and connect with people of all different disabilities, and really try to speak on their behalf and making sure families have they're more comfortable in that sense of ease of raising a child with a disability, or to help people who are already grown to help take care of themselves. So I ended up getting connected with Uniquely You through a friend. And Uniquely You is a magazine that provides reliable resources throughout the state of Connecticut and content from the community, which I love. So, what I'm doing is I'm genuinely going out throughout the whole state, meeting with people, trying to find the best of the best, uh, with hoping that they will partner with us and showcase their ads in the magazine. And what's been an amazing experience is I'm exploring past my realm of um, disabilities for either adults, autism. Like I've been chatting with people with amputees, and
Yeah.
yeah, the deaf community, and it's been a wonderful experience. So I'm really learning to expose myself to more and create more inclusion, and that's what I want to put in the magazine. And it's wonderful that people could submit their own stories too and have their own voices heard, because that's what we want. I think people want to hear from others that are like them, not necessarily from a larger scale of, let's say, like hospitals and whatnot. Like they want to hear from somebody that's walk the walk with them.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a good thing to put together, because I'm newer in the space. I'm very much from an educational background, but I don't get to see you see stuff on like TikTok and Instagram, but that's national, right? It's nice to have a resource that's like local, like somebody that's like, oh, they're a town over, or they're dealing with the same stuff that I'm dealing with. So that's very cool. Now, if somebody were to go look up Uniquely You, though, there are magazines that are different locations. So
Yeah.
you're getting the one specifically started for Connecticut, correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
each of the uniquely used that are already established, they're either designated to their own state, like Connecticut, we're only so big. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of covering Connecticut, but like Florida, is very large. You need a plane to get around. So there's magazines that are covering different areas of Florida. But yeah, it started about 5 years ago from a mom who has a child with autism, and she pitched the idea to the publisher. She was already working for this publisher with running her own magazine, saying, "Hey, we need our own community. Families need resources. We want to connect." And the publisher said, "Yeah, go for it." And that was about 5 years ago. And we're spreading across the country. And it's really special that each magazine is really focused on their own communities. So it is very special and relatable when you're picking up a magazine and seeing images and reading stories that are based all around you.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you're hoping to have in these magazines?
Ooh. So of course, content from families, but I really want to have content from like articles written by individuals themselves
Yeah.
and of all ages. Like I think it would be wonderful to have a child, who's 8 years old who, either has a, who might be in a wheelchair or need extra help in school and just sharing their perspective as being a kid,
Yeah.
what it's like growing up and adapting and what it's like, with peers around, that's so inspiring. I did show, so the magazine I do tend to bring with me in meetings, the cover is a young adult with Down syndrome. And I did go to this amazing um, gelato shop called The Wave, and it's a vocational site for adults with intellectual disabilities. And there's a few individuals there who also had Down syndrome, and I was showing them the magazine, and this one young man was looking at it. He's like, "This is so cool. This is so cool." And it literally just got me so choked up. And then a couple more individuals were looking at it and they're like, "I want to be in this. Can I be in the magazine?" And it was so empowering and it really just emphasized my why. It's not just for the caregivers or the families, it's for them.
Yeah.
Um, so I would love to have content from all different perspectives in there. I know you asked, what do I want to be in the magazine? I want written content
Yeah.
from all different perspectives. I'm really big in activities in the community. So I want to help promote as many functions that are happening across the state as much as possible. I want to spread awareness of different types of disabilities. So I did meet with a mother who, where her child has a disability where it's literally like one in, I believe it was 1 in 10 million or 1 million. And I got to learn about her son and it was really wonderful. And I want to make sure he's included and seen. And I want to do the same thing for others. So I'm kind of excited to start from there and see how things snowball
Yeah.
and see what else we can make out of it. I know some other uniquely used have done their own events in town, like mommy break getaways and um, social networking. We might do like a special needs dating nights. I would love to transition to doing more in-person events in addition to the magazine too.
Yeah. No, it's a great idea. It just made me think about one thing I always tell parents, and I used to use this strategy as a teacher, is bringing the child to the meetings. Hey, bud, bringing the child to the meetings is the most impactful thing that you can do because their voice matters more than everybody's. Right. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, and I would use it as a teacher. Like if I had a tough parent, I would be like, "Hey, you're coming to the meeting." like let's go. And it helps calm everything down because everyone gets refocused back on the child. And it's really important for their voice to be heard. I had this one child. I don't want to talk too much because I think they're going into their senior year of high school.
Okay.
But she got all the way to I'm not gonna say grades because I don't want to
It's okay.
yeah, but got to one of the later grades. Let's just put it that way, like the latter half of her her schooling career, and she had dyslexia, but no one noticed it, and she was able to fake it and fake it and fake it, and eventually it got to a point where it got too
Masking.
much. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
just got too much. She's really, really, really smart kid, really capable kid. We tested her. We got her for, we found out that yes, in fact, she did have dyslexia, and she worked really hard to work on it. Long story short, at the end of the year, she had a speech that she gave to the Board of Ed about the problems with this district's tracking of or identifying kids that have reading issues at the younger grades, because she should have been identified at like kindergarten or first grade. She shouldn't have gotten to the later half of her schooling. And she's got severe dyslexia. It was a very difficult thing for her to do. But it was like, I mean, I was like, choking up and like holding back tears watching her give this speech in front of the board, because it was like she was doing the very thing that was intensely difficult for her. She was mortified of doing it because she knows that she struggles with reading. She knows she struggles with reading a speech, yet she did it anyways because she knew it was important. And I mean, I hope it had an impact. I know it was like the room was very moved. I don't know if anything ever came of it with that one, situation. But regardless, it's still like conquering the disability.
But it did.
Yeah,
It did. Like, look, you're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
So it did make a difference. It may not be like on paper, but it did make a difference.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if that person is watching, when you turn 18, I'd love to have you on the show. I don't.
Yeah.
She's not 18 yet, but she's getting there. But I was very, very, very proud of her. It was definitely one of the highlights of my like teaching career and for my students, right? Like I was really, really proud of her. Coming back to the magazine though, it was her voice. And like I would imagine, like having her maybe write something in the magazine along those lines, like that would be great for her. Or just to have somebody along those lines.
Yeah. I'm gonna sorry, do you mind if I share something?
But not at all, please.
One thing I loved about your story is she reminds me of me. She does. She reminds me of me. And so I have ADD, and it has been an extreme struggle in life from a young age of testing differently, from learning differently, from processing differently. My executive functioning might be a little bit differently. I'm a very emotional person. And like anybody will tell you, I am very emotional, but it definitely impacted me from a very young age in school, and which overlapped to also impacting my mental health. When you're meant to fit in a box and you're a star, you feel stupid. You really do. I'm going to use the word. It's embarrassing. It's why can't I do this like everybody else? Why is it so much harder for me? It's embarrassing of, now I need, extended timing on things, and which now I have no problem with, but at a young age, that's really hard. But even, my grades didn't reflect my knowledge. My grades did not reflect who I am, but my grades, you're told at a young age, is what's going to get you into good classes, good college. And then if you have a good, finish college, then you're going to have a career, and then you could live on your own. And like, it's just trails on everything, So I've always had this like major pressure.
It's so much pressure. Like, but when you put it, like, I mean, that's exactly what we're told. That's so much pressure to put on someone.
It is. And it literally, like, especially in high school, I was like, oh my God, like I know I'm a smart person, but my grades don't reflect it. And like, I'm in terms of like doing a project, as I said, I'm an emotional and creative person. If you have me do like some type of project, yes, I will present really well. I'm going to do a great job. But with exams, oh God, and it's so much pressure. If I don't do well, especially in high school, I'm not going to get into college, and the rest of my whole life is going to be screwed. So, but I've found ways to cope and manage and work with what I have. And it's also a big reason why I feel like I relate to others who have different disabilities, and I want to advocate on their behalf, and why it's so important to me.
So when can we expect to actually get our hands on a magazine?
Ooh, that's like the exciting question.
Yeah, yeah.
So
What's the
we're
plan,
aiming.
I should say, right? What's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
plan?
So we're aiming to launch this fall. Right now, I'm, as I said, going out, meeting with different businesses, organizations, and services throughout the state to kind of get the groundworks in. And from there, I'll be able to wrap up the rest. So it kind of depends on how fast things move. So the goal is to fall. I'm hoping as soon as possible. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows it is a free magazine.
Yeah,
So
it's important to
please,
know.
please, please sign up if you want to follow me on social media. It's Uniquely You Connecticut on Instagram and Facebook. And actually, the publisher N2 is working on launching our website right now for Uniquely You Connecticut. So that'll be coming out soon. And but on both of those sources right now, you will find a Google Doc links where you can sign up for free,
Awesome.
and it'll come in the mail um, or digitally as well.
Okay, cool. So there's multiple ways to check this out. So
Yeah.
Instagram, there will be a website soon. If somebody wants to be in the magazine, should they just get in touch with you on Instagram? Like, what's the best way to get in touch with you there?
I'm pretty open to all forms of communication regarding social media, cell phone, or email. Everything is fine. When we get closer to working on more content, I'll probably put together a site where we might have different topics or just like a quick go to where to submit information. But I really do welcome anybody to reach out to me if they have ideas, if they want to share resources, if they just want to talk. I'm really an open book, and I love connecting with the community. I've learned a lot, and I think that's how we're all going to come together. It's stronger.
Awesome. It's awesome that you're putting this together. I'm really excited to see it. And
Thanks.
yeah, just looking at some of the other magazines too, in the other areas. You mentioned before. I'm just on their site right now. They have one in the Detroit Metro,
Yeah.
Indiana, Ohio, a bunch of Floridas, Northeast Florida, Southwest Florida,
Mhm.
Indiana, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and then there's 3 more coming. It says North Carolina, Florida, Ohio. I'm assuming you're going to get on there too soon, coming soon.
Yep. So I've already hit a certain milestone, so I will be on there next.
Nice.
Very
Congratulations.
excited. Thank you. And Connecticut's actually the first of the Northeast, so
Awesome.
I'm leading the torch.
I mean,
And
that's a big area, like for special ed too. Like, so, I mean,
yes.
that's good. That's good. Awesome.
Yes. So if
Well,
anybody in any of the other states up here or in general is interested in running their own Uniquely You in another state, I'm open to having a conversation about it if you have any
awesome. All
questions.
right.
Yeah.
So New York, Massachusetts, you guys, it's in your court.
New
Get on there.
Hampshire.
New
Yeah.
Hampshire, yeah, Maine, Vermont. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Real quick, for anybody that's listening that doesn't normally watch the show, thank you so much for being here too. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on YouTube, leave a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. I appreciate it. If you guys need any special education resources, I have a special ed newsletter that comes out monthly at greenwichseadvocates.com/resources called the Sped Space newsletter. I am also getting up my school community, which I am working on actively. If you can check us out in school, it's the Sped Space community. I believe it's what it's called. Might change the name. We'll see. And yeah, that's, like, subscribe, and all the fun things. Other than that, thank you so much. Rachel, thank you so much for being here. We'll do
Thank
this again
you.
when the
Yeah,
magazine's out. And
for
yeah, thank
sure.
you so much.
Yeah. Thanks.